Yes, sir. There we go. Going live at 5. Going
We're
on, y'all.
here. What's
We're
happening?
here.
Good morning.
What's
Good
good? Good
Saturday.
morning, everybody.
What's going on?
Good start to
What
your
I got?
Saturday morning. No intro
I got
video.
Daren talking about
That's
we're gonna have to take a wind out Wednesday flight, Lito, to what I got Daren. We were just talking about it, man.
Yeah, he's close to some winery, so I need to go out there and take some stuff back with me. I can
Yes,
up my
you do.
my wine rack over here.
I've had the privilege of going to some wineries in Michigan, and I enjoyed it. I can only imagine how great it's going to be in California. So I'm putting that on the bucket list. I gotta make that happen.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Folks try to judge me like you got a whole day dedicated for Wine Wednesday. Yes.
There's a whole day dedicated for tacos.
Yes, exactly. We can do it for tacos. We can do it for wine.
Look, Taco Tuesday, Wine Wednesday, Tequila Thursdays. That's how you do it.
That's one way to get through the week. I like it.
Yeah. Of course, we got Daren from Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. We're about to get this thing started. Let's get it. Let's be real about life. How about that? I don't know.
I don't think we had that as a title yet, but
I'm gonna say the movie is solid movie.
Yes,
I don't know.
Very solid movie.
But of course, I'm conflicted, man. One of the most conflicted series of basketball I've seen in a long time. We're gonna start it off heavy. We got our guy again, Daren, Fatboy FadeAway Podcast, bro. Happy to have you. Appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. Been watching you guys for a while here, at least a year and a half here. So honored and privileged to be on. So thank you. Looking forward to breaking down some hoops with you. Like I said to you guys before we came on, I see you're missing some of your usuals. It makes sense. I understand. So.
Yeah, we're sending our goodwill soons to Cap and the Mrs. As we just found out the Mrs. is dealing with COVID and Cap is not feeling too well. Our guy Sheedy is out here adulting, so you know how that goes. Mm-hmm. And Savage has a birthday coming up, so apparently he's prepping for that. So
everybody missing nowadays, some of everybody missing in action nowadays, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So let's start, Daren, man. Well, give us your take of the series. You know, of course, the Warriors finished out the Grizzlies in 6 last night. We definitely want your reaction with you being a Warriors diehard to say, and
man, it was just a crazy series. We broke down on our podcast. We did it after every game. We kind of broke down everyone. I think I used the word pathetic referring to the Warriors more than I said good. So it felt like they won the series, but I felt like it was such a struggle, and there were so many things that I wanted to pick apart with them that I was like more frustrated with them than I was happy. But at the end of the day, I just think basketball has this weird way of working out where the veteran players, they always seem to just rise a little bit to the top. And it's weird. I'm a fan of one of those teams now. And I just felt like that's kind of where the Warriors at the end of the day, kind of like how Skylar, you and P Shark kind of thought Warriors in 7. I think last week you guys kind of thought the same way, that maybe the veterans would kind of rise a little bit more at the top. And I felt that's what happened. Like game 6 yesterday, money on the line. I felt like the Warriors' best players all showed up finally for the very first time in a meaningful minute. So it was really cool to see the Warriors like really kind of their stars start to play better there. And the thing that shocked me in the whole series was that they out-rebounded Memphis. That stunned me. I mean, other than the game 5 humiliation, I mean, the rebounding was just stunning to me that they were able to, I guess the long threes were able just to give them more rebounds. So it just shocked me that they were able to pull that end of it out. And obviously the Morant injury changed everything in terms of kind of how the series was going to go at that point. But happy we got through it, ready to move on past Memphis and the drama that was the Warriors-Grizzlies series.
Yeah, for sure. I think as you already mentioned, I just kind of knew that at some point throughout the series that, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and, Klay Thompson and the whole thing that comes with the Warriors, at some point they would just kind of rise to the occasion and say, we've been here before, we've done this before, so whatever it takes to win, we'll do that, whether that's rebounding, I just feel like there was a lot of times Memphis just refused to either box out or they refused to put bodies on the line just to go secure the rebound. And so when you give the Golden State Warriors, and we saw this last night over and over and over, when you give the Golden State Warriors several possessions or you give them multiple, chances to, shoot the basketball or to score, they're going to convert. And so that's what we saw. So, I echo everything Daren just said as far as, the series definitely took a turn when Ja Morant went out. But for the most part, and I don't want to be, I'm against the whole woulda, coulda, shouldas, but this is a series that really could have gone either way, whether the Warriors 1-6 or the Grizzlies 1-6. This series was back and forth outside of game 5. Each game kind of seemed like it came down to like 1 or 2 possessions or something like that. So it was a really good series. I think if nothing else, Memphis will benefit from this type of series. They will benefit to say, we went toe-to-toe with the Golden State Warriors. We were there with the Golden State Warriors, through 6 games, even without Ja Morant. And so maybe that, they'll make some adjustments in the offseason, roster-wise and things like that. But I think they're here for the long term and doing nothing but listening to what Draymond Green said yesterday. Got to give kudos to him. I understand Memphis Grizzlies fans aren't the biggest Draymond Green fans, but he kept it real, whether it was him saying or him chanting "whoop that trick." But what he said last night in the post game talk about how he and the team respects Memphis and how they, I guess, I think there were times where they kind of took the Grizzlies a little light and things like that, and so we saw where that reaped its head. So at the end of the day, really, really great series. I do wish there were times where we talked more about was this a flagrant 2 foul or was this a dirty play or is this a dirty play? I kind of got tired of that. I would have wanted the series to be more talked about, what happened on the floor. But at the end of the day, it was a really great series.
Yeah. Well, for me, as one of the guys that picked the Grizzlies to win this series in 7, and the only reason I even picked Memphis was because they had home court. And one of the questions I had with Golden State, which it started to show throughout the series, is can they win a game where it's like grinded out? Like it's not one of those games where Golden State is constantly hitting home runs and constantly coming at you with a barrage of threes and things of that nature. And it started to show its head in game 6, and you can kind of see where I got reminded that Memphis is the second youngest team in the entire NBA. The Warriors play like the champions that they are, had exhibited that championship pedigree. From this, Memphis is definitely going to be on the come up. I can't really complain too much. I mean, the Ja injury was a blow, but you saw it was a blow, but the Grizzlies not only say, okay, next man up, and they didn't believe that they can just win the next game. They still believe that they can win the entire series, which was fairly possible, which is going to say wonders going for them. As far as for the Warriors concerned, I wish them the best. I would love to see them in the finals, to be honest with you, because I do believe they can beat Phoenix or Dallas in a 7-game series, just given the circumstances. And then as far as the Grizzlies going forward, of course, there's going to be some roster changes here. Of course, you're going to do the obvious, which is give Ja the Supermax this offseason, because if I'm not mistaken, he's up for a max extension, and he'll be up for a Supermax if he makes an All-NBA team, which I'm fairly sure he's at the very least, third team All-NBA. And I'm just being modest that he should be second. But again, kudos to the Warriors on a great series. I have no complaints here. And for the Grizzlies, man, the sky's the limit. Let's just hope our executive of the year, King Kleiman, can make the right decisions in tweaking this roster.
Yep. I'm sure he can, bro. So Daren, of course, if you didn't know, I'm the other Warriors, I guess, fan, for lack of better words, you can say.
Yeah.
But this series, like I said, I was just conflicted all around, bro. And from game 1, like the Warriors, I had the Grizz winning in 6 or the Warriors in 7. I said if it gets to 7, whether it's in Memphis or not, Steph Curry and Clay not going to let this opportunity pass, but they got in 6. But even I said in game 1 that the Warriors beat us at our own game, which I said that was a huge issue for me from the get-go. You know, some people were like, "No, it's just game one, whatever." I said, "No, they beat us at our own game. We have to stick to our defensive identity, what we are. Even though we didn't have Steven Adams, we were just lacking that energy. Then we started to get Steven Adams, and of course, we started to play with a little bit of toughness. You know, win a couple of games, but it's like we still lost the paint battle. You know, the Warriors score more inside points than us. That's the issue when we're the number one, number two team in the league in blocks and rebounding. You know, the Warriors out rebounded the Grizzlies. Yep. That's the issue that I had like literally all series. You know, and then for Ja to go down, the reason I said that I'm conflicted. You know, and you've seen all the injuries. I'm pretty sure you've seen people talk trash about how the Warriors injure players. Yeah. But let's call a spade a spade. You know, I got all kind of 2017 when the Warriors played the Grizz and the Warriors broke my face. You know what I'm saying? Just having those kind of feels, you know, seeing Kyrie go out in the NBA Finals and, you know, the Kawhi injury and the Chris Paul, it's hard for me to say, you know, for Ja to go out, that's just a game of basketball. But it's hard to me to be a Warriors fan and just to wonder what if Ja Morant would have played. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard. I'll be better next week for sure. But what if Ja Morant would have played this series? I just can't get that out of my head, seeing how every time the Warriors go against, you know, a good team, something end up happening. You got a response to that?
Yeah, you know, it's funny you said that there. But my counter to that would be like, well, you know, the Warriors have had some losses in the playoffs as well. Like Curry went out against the Rockets really early back in like 2016. They had Bogut and Iguodala, and they got banged up in the finals, and then the Cavs won those 3 games. They've had Clay miss a few games during their stretch there too. But so I hear you on the other point, though. It does come up that the Warriors, I just feel like the NBA playoffs are war nutrition. And I think like at the end of the day, those teams, like you're going to have injuries. And maybe the Warriors are dirty in some sense, but I don't know. I think some of those injuries have been kind of freakish. Like Irving's was freakish and a few of those as well. So, I mean, the one that was not freakish was Draymond punting Adams in the balls that one time. But other than that, he came back and played. So other than that one, I feel like they've – and so, yeah, I hear your point. Can I bring up the flagrant two real quick on Green? That I kind of to your point a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like that if that was just called a flagrant one, I mean, it was definitely a flagrant. He unnecessarily did foul them. But I feel if he just calls that a flagrant one, maybe there's not as much drama in the series. You know, Brooks does his thing, and then it's just like full mode of like, he said, she said, this should be that. I'm just like, the refs call that a flagrant one. 99% of the population believes that. Let's just keep it what it is and play basketball. And I feel like that's where the NBA is starting to really frustrate me is they're ticky-tack everything. It's like if you freeze frame everything could be a foul or a flagrant foul. So I just feel like they just would have called that a flagrant one. It might not have got so dramatic in the series.
Yeah, and that was my thing with that too, because and that's one of the monikers for what we have called it Memphis versus everybody, because if you're calling it one way, we at least call it the same way on our end as well. Mm-hmm. I think the Draymond Green, I said it, I tweeted about it, and I called it on Starting Five. Like, it was a flagrant one and play on, but I think because they looked at him pulling the jersey of Brandon Clark, they was like, okay, and it's Draymond Green reputation. That's that whole thing. And then with Dylan Brooks, that was a flagrant one and play on as well, but because unfortunately, Gary Payton II just so happened to injure his elbow and be knocked out for the series, and seeing what happened with Draymond, that happened there as well. You had the flagrant one against Dylan last night. That was called also, but there was no review for Kevon Looney when he took Steven Adams to Suplex City and just decided not to
throw him on the ground.
Nobody saw a thing.
Yeah. But yeah, in the end, that's what kind of made the series so draining, which was like all these plays need to be reviewed. Is this a flagrant? Is this a flagrant? Should this player be suspended? Should this player be suspended? I'm more of a fair guy. If you call it one way, at least call it the same way the other way. But if not, just roll the ball out and just play basketball. It kind of took away from the series just a little bit, but not as much. But I do want to take the time to commend Steven Adams for at least getting back out there and playing, because of course he missed the first. He didn't play in the Minnesota series, but he missed the first couple of games of this series with COVID. And to see him giving the effort that he given, and then see him on the sideline trying to catch some air because he still had COVID lungs. So kudos to Steven Adams for toughing it out. He did make a difference in the series, not so much in Game 6, but shout out to Steven Adams for at least giving it a go, man.
He got abused in Game 6. He got abused. I feel like he made it. He was in a body bag by the end of that game.
I think he was gassed. Yeah. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And then on top, he was injured. He got knocked down like a couple of times in the game. He had the elbow injury, to which he had to put on the sleeve, then the knee injury, which didn't seem like much, but I think he eventually got gassed. And because again, he was dealing with COVID lungs. I'm not gonna make any excuses. I'm not gonna say it would have made a difference, but I just gotta commend him for at least going out there and at least giving it all, coming fresh off of COVID like that.
For sure.
Dan, let me ask you this. Coming into the season, I said that outside of course, the Warriors rosters with Kevin Durant. So outside of those rosters, I think that this Warriors team was the most complete. As far as, of course, getting Clay back, of course, getting Otto Porter back, who we saw what he just did. Very underrated signing. Jonathan Kuminga, who got, 8+ potential. We still trying to figure out what he is. James Wiseman ain't played, so of course I can't wait to see him come back. And of course, like Jordan Poole, like his explosion last year, and then him really turning up this year. I really thought that the Warriors had like the most complete roster coming into this season. Especially with K coming back. What you think about that? Outside of those Kevin Durant teams.
Yeah, I think they could get to that roster. Though I kind of see your point. The Wiseman injury for me changed everything in terms of that, because I feel like they just don't have the big to complete their roster in that regard. Everything else I feel like they have. But Looney, if he's your tallest guy, he's good. I know he got 22 rebounds last night. But when you're going against maybe a Giannis or a Ayton, you might need a little bigger guy. And that's where I feel like a Bogut and all those guys are always.
Yeah, but here's my thing though. Now we can say that, but we just saw what just happened to the Grizzlies.
No, I hear you.
The players.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I would say it's not the most complete roster they've had since then, but I hear your point on it. It's a very deep roster. I think the guards are what make it a good deep roster at that point there. So I hear you on there.
Yeah, it's the wing players. You got about 5 or 6 guys that are between 6'3" and 6'8".
Yeah. Maybe it's that I don't feel like they're quite there yet. Maybe that's like, what those other teams where they had Livingston and Iguodala and Barbosa, they were already kind of there. So I feel like maybe that's why I'm not quite ready to go there yet. But I do see that next generation of it coming. I think you're right. They do have a very complete roster going forward too.
How do you feel about the loss of Gary Payton II? I know that's so they may not be a household name. But for some that have watched the Warriors quite a bit, and for some that are familiar with basketball, I think if nothing else, he's a really important key for you guys on the defensive end. And if we saw what the Warriors looked like defensively when he was not in the game or when he wasn't playing, so does that injury concern you going forward?
Oh, for sure. Well, depth-wise, it really concerns me. I probably overreacted to Game 2. My favorite quote or my favorite tweet maybe of the series was Savage saying, "Hey, when did Gary Payton get goated?" I think I goated him early on in this. So I got that guy did for sure. I've always liked him. I liked him at Oregon State when he played there. I got to see him quite a bit over there, so I liked his game there. But I think he does make a difference for the roster for sure. I don't know, maybe I overhyped him a little bit, but I always feel like when you have a guard like that in like big series, like maybe the Western Finals, or you get into the finals when maybe you're playing against Holiday or especially Boston, that's where I kind of wish we had him to go to in that because now we don't really have Clay's not the same defender I feel like he was. Poole is barbecue chicken, and Curry is a little bit better, but they don't have enough wings, I feel like, at that point there. But yeah, I think he's important for sure. I think especially in certain games, he can change a game, put him in, play better. I think he did that in Game 2 this series. Was that what it was? I think so. Or Game 1, I believe. So he had some big threes.
It was Game 1.
Yeah.
It was Game 1. What up, Ryan?
Can I ask you guys a Grizzlies question real quick?
Yeah.
Brooks. He's the hot topic I know for you guys.
Yeah, Trevor.
But and I heard your guys' podcast Monday. You guys talked about him. Dylan Brooks Island was a great segment. I enjoyed that part of it very much. Do you guys? He's got to be this frustrating a player to watch though at times, because you're like, he does so many good things, and then you're like, stop shooting. What do you do? Like, he's got to be frustrating at times to watch in that regard. And I'm a Warriors. I'm watching it. I'm like,
I'll take the reins of this as the resident Dylan Brooks fan and chief of staff of Dylan Brooks Island. It's frustrating. It is very toxic.
It's funny your mic got louder too.
It is very toxic indeed. And I thought about this analogy right before the show, because when he's playing well, we dubbed him the grind son, because he plays similar to how Tony Allen does. And it's like this. Would you rather, if you're dying, would you rather be shot in the head, or would you rather die from 1,000 cuts? Because Tony Allen, of course, as great as he was defensively, he gave you absolutely nothing on offense. Dylan Brooks, it's a slow, painful death. Like, it's too many times where you're like, why are you shooting this? And then it goes in, it's like, okay, all right, Dylan, good shot. So, and I tweeted this morning, Savage. It may be that time. It may be that time for me to say goodbye to Dylan Brooks Allen. It may be that time. Now, I would at least hold on to him until after the trade, to at least the trade deadline, because you kind of want to see what kind of jump Zaire Williams is going to take, because he's probably going to take the same route as Desmond Bane. He's going to play in the summer league. They're going to see where he is. If he has a big jump, then, you know, it could be close to that time, man. It could be close to that time. I tweeted the gift for the guy sitting lonely in the island looking at the sunset. It may be that time, because it is so frustrating. And as I always say, he is gonna get his field goal attempts. Those FGAs are gonna be in the double digits. I wish it wasn't so high in the double digits. Like, I wish it was 15 or less, but it's just so it's so frustrating.
Last night still.
Yes, it is immediately frustrating, man. But like, when he's on, he's on. I will say that, but he had a terrible playoffs. I'm just gonna keep it 100%. It wasn't just a terrible series against the Warriors. He had a terrible playoffs. Out of the 11 games that he's played, he's only had maybe 2 good ones, and I think it was one in each series. One in the Minnesota series, and of course this game 6, which of course was on the losing end. But yeah, it may be that time, man. It may be that time to roll. I mean, it pains me to say it, but for the Grizzlies going forward, if you're gonna have championship aspirations, Dylan Brooks has shown you time and time again who he is as far as on the offensive side of the ball. You know,
then why are you breaking one of the commandments? If a player show you who he is, trust him. The analogy that you just used, first of all, is perfect. You've been watching too much Atlanta. I think that could have been perfect for that show. But second, it sounds like you're choosing 1,000 stab wounds when all you got to do is just take the gunshot to the head. I told you last year about Dylan Brooks, bro. I'm told, come out of that island, save yourself. Let me give you another analogy.
No.
Let me give you another analogy. It's one joke about how it was a person drowning and God sent them a boat, and it was like, nah, I'm gonna wait. God's gonna send me something better. And then he sent another boat. It was like, I'm gonna send you something better. Then he gets to heaven, and God is like, dang, he asked God, you didn't save me. It's like, dummy, I sent you 2 boats. Yeah. Save yourself, fool. I'm trying to help you, bro. Just come out, bro. Because I'm that was the other thing. I'm frustrated with Dylan Brooks right now. I told you about him last year. If a player show you who he is, he's taking higher shots, of course, and he's missing majority of them. I want him gone.
Now, the pushback I have for this is, and I'll let Scholar go after me after this. He's a decent 3rd, real strong 4th option.
But in his mind, he's a first. That's an issue.
The problem is, in his mind, he's a legit 1st and 2nd option. And that's not good. That's not good for women.
Ain't no second, first.
If I'm Memphis, I would, like I said, I would love to keep him, but I need Taylor Jenkins and the coaching staff in the front office to kind of reel that in and like sit Dillon Brooks down and tell him like, hey, these 19, 20 something shots that you're taking, we need to cut that in half. Or Dillon Brooks might be on the trading block.
If I'm Dillon Brooks trading, If I'm Dillon Brooks trading, peace.
I'll say this. I understand his field goal attempts being high, especially when John Morant went down. Because at the end of the day, who's taking those shots? Desmond Bane didn't get it going until game 4-ish, game 5. 4.
Yeah.
DeAnthony Melton, for the most part of this series, was non-existent. So really, who else is taking those field goal attempts? So I'm cool. Let me finish this. I'm cool with the 21-22 field goal attempts. My problem is let them bring it in the rhythm of the offense. That's the thing. If you're going to take 22 shots, that's fine. If you can go 5 of 19, that happens. That's basketball. Things happen. But damn it, let them be in the flow of the offense. Let them be, let some of those attempts be at the rim. He's a fairly decent mid-range shooter. Let that be some of your attempts. But don't let 22 of the 22 attempts that you take, don't let 15 of them be contested threes. And you're just like, what the hell? Like, I'm sorry. Like, at some point, I think he should just be traded. I will never be able to get over what he did in game 4. I will not be able to kind of get over that because the game was in the Grizzlies' hands. It was there. And I wish that they would have done more to what you said, Daren. I think, in my opinion, the Warriors aren't that good with their interior defense. And so my opinion was to keep attacking the rim. There should have been times Jaren Jackson Jr. had 25, 26 field goal attempts. But, they went away from it. And what he did in game 4 was just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, there were contested threes. Most of his shots weren't in the rhythm of the offense, except one. And we talked about this on the starting 5. The one field goal that he took that was in the rhythm of the offense, that was a jumper, was a shot that went in. And then he just went away from that. So that's my thing. If you're not going to trade him, if you want to just say, hey, we're going to run it back with the team that we had, then that's fine. But then as a coaching staff, as a team, because it's not on the coaching staff, as players, you need to hold each other accountable as well too. But say, hey, bro, what you're doing on this other side of the floor ain't they good? Pass the ball because he's good defensively. He's pretty good defensively. But damn it, to what you just said, like there are times he gets this like, I'm Kevin Durant from the 3-point line, so I'm gonna let this shot ride. I'm just like, bro,
nah, it's not. He thinks he's Kobe. He wears Kobe's. He's wearing number 24. He's been doing that since he's been at Oregon, and like I said, he's gonna get those FGAs up. Is either to the benefit or the detriment of the Grizzlies. And more times often than not, it is to the detriment. And to Skylar's point, a lot of these shots were not quality shots. And too many of them, to Ryan's point, was early in the shot clock as well. I always said catch and shoot Dillon is the best Dillon. And I think the players and the coaching staff need to kind of let Dillon Brooks know, like, hey, you're best when you're good, when you're playing within the flow of the offense. When you're trying to take things over yourself, it's a recipe for disaster.
Highly unrecommended. Yeah.
Let's just put this way. As a Warriors fan, I was happy when he was touching the ball most times. I knew he was getting it out already. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, that's good. I like it. I mean, he made a few, and I'd be like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. So,
I would have been let that thing fly.
Exactly.
But of course, man, we're gonna talk more about the Grizzlies starting file podcast. Make sure y'all check us out on that. I guess it'll probably be our last episode of the season coming up.
Yeah. Off-season plans, full off-season plans coming on starting five.
I got a couple ideas, man. But we'll get to it. Let's get to this Heat and Sixers, man. Cap in action. I told y'all from the get-go that the Sixers should have been gone last series. But how y'all feel about that? We'll start with you, Lito, then Trev.
The Sixers thing's been so weird the whole year. I mean, when they traded for Harden, I just felt weird from the very beginning. Didn't seem like a weird fit. Miami's they're just way tougher. I mean, I could never pick the Sixers to ever beat that team. Give me a team that's mentally physical. Give me a team where the coach can come on the court and yell at you for 30 minutes and during a regular season game, and you guys are still cool during the regular season. So give me the Heat all day against them. They're just when I watch the games, it's hard for me to catch some of their games because they start at 4:00 here, 4:30. But for most of them that I saw, they're just tougher than them. The Sixers, the games they did win, it felt like they finally kind of played a little smarter, got a little lucky there with the Maxey was really good in those games. But I feel like Miami they're just way more mentally tough. They're ready for this. They were in the finals a couple of years ago. I totally underappreciated Butler before this. I've always been a little bit hard on him. So I was, and it's hard for me to pick Doc Rivers in a series too. You guys mentioned it a lot as well. And I've never been a Rivers fan. Obviously, he was the Clippers coach, so I never really liked him over there very much either. So yeah, it was really hard for me to even think the Sixers. I was surprised they got 2. I was surprised they won in 2. I had the Heat in 3.
Before I was podcasting, I thought that Doc Rivers was a good coach. These fellas have convinced me otherwise. It's been hilarious.
It is, man. It's crazy.
No, I think if nothing else, what I saw from this Miami Heat team is what I've been seeing all season. They're, for the most part, they're a really good 3-point shooting team. They struggle they have their times where Melvin, they have their times where they're a lull offense and they just kind of go through the motions. But when they get things clicking on the offensive end, they're pretty tough to beat. On the defensive side of the ball, they are, in my opinion, they're on a string. They communicate well, they slide well, they play defense with their feet more so than their hands. And so, I think if nothing else, we all thought that the Miami Heat would sweep the Philadelphia Sixers in this series. Doc Rivers, James Harden had a game because then you just said, I don't know how they got 2. They got 2 because there was one game Miami couldn't hit they couldn't make a basket at all. So that's how they got one of it. And then the other game, I think James Harden just kind of got hot, which is surprising. So I decided to be nice to Doc Rivers and James Harden when they tied the series 2-2. And say, okay, let me cut back on my slander. They won 2 games, and I gave after we all thought they would get swept. And then here I am, like what the hell, Doc Rivers? What the hell, James Harden? For you to come out as flat as you did, Game 5 and Game 6, and to get blown out like that. Game 6 wasn't much of a blowout, but it was still like, what are you doing? It's just one of those things that we've been saying Savage and I've been saying since 2009, 2010. Doc Rivers is overrated. And I will, at that point, media, they have to understand who Doc Rivers is. Everybody wants to think that Doc Rivers is his top 5 coach and, he's one of the greatest of all times. He cool. I mean, he can be invited to the barbecue here and there, but that's about it. At the end of the day, he's overrated. James Harden is completely washed at this point. So this series doesn't surprise me. I'm very interested to see the Heat take on. I really want Heat and Bucks for the Eastern Conference Finals. I hope that's what we get, but we'll see. But at the end of the day, what Doc Rivers and James Harden showed us, we said this months ago, we said this years ago. Those two people are not the 2 people you want on your side when it comes postseason time.
Man, call it what it is, Skylar. The Sixers got 2 games because Joel Embiid stepped on the court. Let's just call it really what it is. Because if he wasn't on the court, let's just be honest, the Heat would have ended this in 2. I'm not going to say 3. They would end this in 2. But yeah, Doc Rivers continues to show just how an incompetent coach that he is, and he's literally riding the tail of winning the championship in 2008. Which really doesn't say say much of anything because he had Tom Thibodeau on his staff as well. Folks forget about that, who was great defensively, and then the players that he had on those Celtics teams. So that's one thing. James Harden at this point is completely washed. He just seems completely disengaged. It'll be Philly's stuck with him at this point because I'm pretty sure he's going to opt into his deal for next season and possibly look for a bigger payday, which I don't think is going to happen. I say this before, I'll continue to say it again. Free Joel Embiid until it's backwards because that man deserves so much better than what he is getting in Philly. And this is not even a problem with just Doc Rivers and James Harden. This is a problem with the front office, to be honest with you as well. Because Elton Brand and whoever else is running this team is not.
Toots boy Daryl Morey.
Well,
I love
Daryl Moore
Daryl
screwed it
Morey.
up too. Daryl Moore screwed it up too, but yeah, this front office man is crazy because I tweeted about this after the series, after that series ended, like Philly screwed up by not re-signing Jimmy Butler. I'm just gonna come out and say it. They did not re-sign Jimmy Butler. They instead, chose Tobias Harris, gave him the bag as well as Al Horford the bag, as well, and not trading Ben Simmons when you should have traded him in 2019 after that series against Toronto. That all went downhill. Then you're trying to make Ben Simmons the next Giannis, which is legit words from the Philly front office. They wanted to try to have Ben Simmons emulate something to what Giannis does, but it takes a lot. Like, everybody's not Giannis. So Philly at this point, man, your window of contention is closing. You're going to have
that's a close, big dog.
ING or is it ED?
Close?
It's ED. It's ED. It's closed. At this point, it's closed.
Yeah, it's when you walk up to a store and the employees be like, "No, we closed, big dog." And they flip the sign over. That's what it
exactly.
is. It's closed.
No, they don't even flip the sign over. It's like they just locked the door and they standing in the window. You trying to walk up and they like this. Nah, bro, we closed. Yeah, exactly. So at this point, I wouldn't necessarily say start over if I'm Philly, because you'll have a first round pick this year because Brooke is gonna defer that pick that they're owed for this year. So you'll have a first round pick, but it's gonna be like in the late 20s. So you're probably not gonna get much to improve there. You got a nice piece of Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid is getting older and the injuries are piling up. But enough for the Sixers. To Skylar's point, Miami's looked like they've been looking this entire season. When they're locked in defensively and they're hitting their shots from the 3-point line, they are tough to beat. They're going to be tough to beat. Heat, Bucks, Heat, Celtics, it doesn't matter. I'm pulling for the Heat Celtics because I did pick the Celtics to win in 7. But I will be happy either way. So kudos to the Heat. And we'll see where it goes from there.
So, Daren, the fellas will tell you that if it's two people in the NBA that I have a huge thing against, the first one would be Daryl Morey. The second would be James Harden. So the fact that they ended up back on the same team is hilarious. And the fellas will tell you, as soon as that trade happened, I said that Joel Embiid, like Trev, needs to demand a trade ASAP because it's a disaster waiting to happen, especially with my new thought process of Doc Rivers. So I knew that nothing spectacular was going to come from this. But James Harden, even when he was in Houston, like, I didn't like him too much. I thought he was overrated then. Yeah, he won an MVP, but most of his points came from flailing his body, trying to get those fouls that he's not getting anymore. That's number one. Number two, he's just older. He's older. He may try to get assists, but he's a ball dominant, and he's just not as good. He's not a first. You can't run the offense to him like you used to anymore. So crazy thing is you're gonna need a Joel Embiid to contend. But if you got James Harden on the court and Daryl Morey in the front office, as well as Elton Brand, who's been known to make terrible decisions, it's a disaster waiting to happen, and we're seeing it right in front of our eyes.
I tried to tell you guys about Daryl Morey, man. Daryl Morey is only as highly. Yeah, I know you have as well, but I've said it. I said it once and I'll say it again. Daryl Morey is only regarded as he is because Clay Bennett, the owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder, did not want to give James Harden the extra $4 million. That is the only reason we even talking about Daryl Morey here today.
Mm-hmm. So I was last night. I was thinking of trades you guys could make for Brooks. This is random, and one of my troll trades was Brooks for James Harden.
You almost got kicked out. You almost got kicked out. You have no idea how close I was to saying bye. I never kicked the guest out.
If that trade was on the table, I'm hanging up the phone. I will take my chances with Dylan Brooks at that point. If
please have it with me with Dylan Brooks.
That's like no, that's I'll keep the analogy. No, that's either death by 1,000 cuts or drinking bleach. So both of it's gonna be slow, but it's like I'll take my chances with Dylan Brooks there.
Well, you said troll trade, so we're gonna have that. We got what was should I say? Classic. Make sure we record that, man, because
I wouldn't even want to know, because Memphis fans are tough. So I wouldn't even want to know. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that's where it happens. Like Memphis fans they might rob James Harden. they may rob that man. I couldn't even see that happening. We would be pissed.
Yeah.
James Harden don't do, man. Whatever. I can go out there, but salute to Shark, man. If he was on the pod, I definitely I'd congratulate you on the pod. But how top 10 Larry doing? Is he suspected being back? Do y'all know?
He's still dealing with a hamstring issue, and hamstring issues when you plus 30 ain't what's up.
Right.
I think he'll come back at some point, but that ain't looking too good.
Hold on. What did you, Skyler, that posted that Daddy Green tweet on in the group meeting when it was revealed they tore his ACL? It's like, you tore your ACL at 35? Oh, you might as well be an analyst at this point.
Yeah, it's about time. He'll be on NBA TV next week.
That's mean. That's mean.
We're better the disrespect. But I mean,
one quick shout out for the Heat. Quick shout out to Victor Oladipo, man, who had a real resurgence, because we thought somebody you talking about somebody that we thought was done.
Yeah,
the injury started to pile up for Victor Oladipo. I always said that he'd be great for Miami if he was able to get back to at least a fraction of what he used to be, and he's proven to do just that. So just for him to come back from the injuries that he's endured over the past couple of years, man, is simply amazing. So shout out Vic Oladipo for that.
Shout out to Tyler Hero for not making me look like an idiot too. I told y'all he was gonna be good.
6th man of the year.
Well,
come on. Shout out to Pat Riley for being patient with the kid. We saw flashes in a bubble. He was too tired last season. We good, Shark. Y'all good, bro. Just chill. Y'all got y'all one. Duncan Robinson on the other hand.
all right. We got one more. We got a couple more series we got to cover, man. And we still got a lot of show to cover. So.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me pull this up. Oh, I can tell. This ain't going nowhere. This shit. Hey man, it is what it is. I'm gonna watch more of y'all next series. We're going to talk about y'all going.
Real Media is pleased to announce we are sponsored by Ralph Brand. Ralph culture is surrounded by skates, punk, and hip-hop art. We are looking forward to co-designing materials for this journey with them. Please visit ralphbrand.com for purchasing merch now and for future collaborations with Let's Be Real Media.
All right. Speaking of, I guess we can go ahead and get into the Eastern Conference real quick, man. Talk about the Bucks and Celtics, man. I said Celtics in 7. I said the damn leprechaun is back. I'll talk more about my reasoning. Daren, what you got?
I got the Bucks. I like the Bucks. I don't usually like the champion or like the best player in the league, but for some reason I love Giannis and I like the Bucks. I just like the way they play, and I just don't like the Celtics. There's just something about them. They always have kind of just been a team. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the uniform color. I don't know what it is. I'm just not a big fan of the team there a little bit. I like the Bucks to pull it out in Game 7. That Game 5 win is still in my head. So I feel like when the money's on the line, I just feel like the Bucks can get it done. I expect a low-scoring game though in Game 7. I know usually these teams would go high, but I think it's going to be like 96, 95, something like that in that range. And I think the Bucks pull it out. With no Middleton, they get by.
Yeah, I think I said Bucks in 6. So I'm a little bit worried about my pick right now, but I'll stay with it and still go Bucks in 7. Definitely understanding that Boston is at home Boston's at home for Game 7. But I just think what we've seen Giannis do in this entire series, I think he'll do it again. I don't think Boston has much of an answer to guard him on the defensive end. But what Sharky just said, Jason Tatum has been absolutely amazing. He's answered the bell. He's gone toe-to-toe for the most part with Giannis, in my opinion, kind of kept Boston in this particular series. So I'll still go with the Milwaukee Bucks in this series. I think they'll win on, I guess the game is tomorrow. But I'm a little nervous about it for the simple fact that, Boston's at home. Jason Tatum has gone off. Marcus Smart, he's had some plays where, it's not going his way, but he's stepped up as well too. So we'll see. But I still got Bucks winning this one.
Yeah. If anybody can go into the Garden and steal a Game 7 in Boston, it's Giannis. However, their offense is really concerning to me, and I think the loss of Chris Middleton is really, really alarming to me. I even felt that they still could have pulled off Game 6, but Jason Tatum happened, and often too many times. And that for Boston on the offensive end, it's like Jason Tatum was just playing one-on-one with everybody, but it was paying off for him because he was, making shots. I picked the Celtics to win this in 7. I still think they get it in 7. It's on their home floor. I expect a big game. You may not get a big game from Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, but I think somebody else is going to show up. Like Grant Williams may just come out of the woodwork and just drop 25 or something like that, and it's going to aid the Celtics to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But again, if there's anybody that can go into the Boston Garden and steal a game, it's Giannis and the Bucks. But I picked the Celtics in 7 to start the series. I'm going to stick with it. So I think the Celtics pull it off tomorrow.
I do as well. I think they have the formula to beat Giannis. And I just looked up literally outside of game 1. If Giannis don't shoot 50% from the field, the Celtics win. And I think that's essentially what's going to happen. Even though, last game, Giannis took 30 shots and made 14 of them. I kind of expect the same. Of course, he'll probably hit, I expect about the same. But one person that I'm expecting to show out like he continues to do, like the reason they whooped the net so bad is because of this guy right here. Jason Tatum is literally turning into a superstar right in front of our eyes, and the Boston Celtics have the team to beat, the defending champions. And I said the damn Leprechaun is back for a reason. They back at Game 7. I said it was going to be a 7-game series for a reason, because the Leprechaun is going to show his ass tomorrow night. I don't know how. I don't know when, where. Like you said, it's going to be Grant Williams maybe giving 20 and 20. I don't know. Something's going to happen. The Leprechaun's back. Give me. I got the Celtics.
Look, we got a 30-point game from Al Horford, so anything is possible
exactly.
at this point. And there's no disrespect to Al Horford, but let's just be real. He dropped 30 in the game that which the Celtics won. Yeah,
he shocked himself, bro. But still, Al Horford defensively and Grant Williams, everybody inside the paint have been doing a great job, against Giannis. But it's one more, it's for the marbles. And I think in order for Jason Tatum to take that superstar, step, he's gonna have to win tomorrow. He got to. And I think that I just think he's going to. You see, and of course, let's head to the West Coast to see who the Warriors are going against. I don't know how the Mavericks continue to win games, but they do. And if one of y'all can break it down for me,
I know what it is, but
Luka Doncic
about this point up, so I'm gonna let him go.
It's Luka Doncic, 1. 2, I said it, because people were, in my opinion, were disrespecting the Mavs, but the Mavs can play some damn defense. I don't care what you say. They can play some pretty decent defense. And so what we've seen from that is we've seen Devin Booker struggle sometimes here and there. And so because of that, and because Scott Foster is repping Game 7, I'm going against my pick. I'm changing my pick. The Dallas Mavericks are going to win this game, and they're going to win the series. Simple as that.
I think that'd be a better matchup for the Warriors if they got the Mavericks, just because of the lack of no Ayton in there. I think that would help them a little bit. Now, I think the Warriors.
Is that the matchup you want?
If I was to pick a team, that'd be who I want. And it's not really like I want Luka, but yeah, that's who I want to win. But I think the Suns pull it out, because I look at the roster. I feel like the Suns, they have Luka, and the Suns might have
Ryan.
The 6 best players on their team, the 6 next best players in the series. So I don't know. I got the Suns still pulling it out. I feel like in a game 7. I feel like it was kind of meant like how the Warriors were kind of meant to play the Grizzlies this year for that kind of. I still feel like the Suns and Warriors are meant to go one more time, one more CP3 Steph Curry matchup in the playoffs. I feel like I think that might be their last time going at it. So that's what I think happened. I think the Suns, they play way better at home. I don't know what it is. They've been killing the Mavericks at home. So I like them to pull it out.
Yeah, I picked the Suns to win this in 6 because I said Luka would get you 2.
Yeah.
But to Skylar's point, Dallas has done a excellent job on the defensive side of the ball, on Chris Paul and Devin Booker for that matter. I'm actually gonna change my pick. I really think Luka is gonna do it because Luka has found out now that there's nobody on that Phoenix Suns team that can stop him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had just another game like he's having because I believe he's averaging around 35 in the entire playoffs right now. I think it's gonna happen. I'm giving me the Mavs to steal this series away from Phoenix and go on to the conference finals. That's really all I have here. I'm going with the Mavs.
Before 2 goes, I saw this stat early this week. Luka Doncic averages 39 points a game when he faces elimination in the playoffs. That is absurd. That is crazy. You can't ignore that. You cannot. That's crazy, bro. 39 points a game when you're facing elimination is crazy.
Man, I still got the Suns winning. I still think that if the Suns don't actually go to the finals, period, it's a wrap for them this year. I say that because Aiden's gonna get paid. He's gonna get the bag elsewhere. I believe he's a restricted, right? I definitely need to look that up. I believe he is a restricted. He's gonna get the bag elsewhere. Suns still got to pay Chris Paul $50 million coming up, as well as Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to keep Aiden. So I think if the Suns don't win it this year, it's a wrap. And I think with that sense of urgency, they can't allow Luka Doncic and nobody else to beat them. And I consider Chris Paul a top 10 point guard ever, maybe top 5 for sure. But the damage on his legacy for me, if Luka Doncic beats them, because the Suns got a better team. Their team was literally constructed to beat the Bucks in the finals. But if you can't get past little Luka,
it's over.
You saying little Luka like it's disrespectful.
And I don't want to be disrespectful, Luka, because he's a great ball player. But I don't see how Dallas continues to win. Like I knew they were going to beat Utah because they had more heart for sure. But it's like now Chris Paul can't lose game 7. He can't. He can't lose tomorrow night.
Yeah, just for a quick update, DeAndre Ayton will be a restricted free agent this summer, and somebody's going to overpay for him.
Exactly.
It's exactly what's going to happen. Somebody's going to overpay to where Phoenix can't match.
Ironically, it may be Dallas.
Hey,
come on now. Hey, we'll talk about Dallas later because I got a whole mindset about Dallas. They got a nice future ahead of them. We'll talk about them. But as far as tomorrow go, I got the Suns in 7.
All right.
What you thinking there? You shaking your head, bro?
I'm just looking forward to the game. They just got. I don't know. To me, it should be a fun game. I love game 7s. I mean, we got 2 of them tomorrow, so I'm just pretty fired up for the games and what's on tap. There's nothing better than elimination basketball. So just and like you said, there's a lot. Kind of how it felt like the Warriors. They didn't really have pressure on them to still game 6, but people were kind of starting to hype it up. No, this is pressure, like you said. Like if the Suns lose, this team could be broken up. Good, likely. That's pressure. You can't lose to a one-man show, I feel, in the Dallas Mavericks when you made the finals the year before. So I'm with you on that. It'd be stunning if they lost.
Now with Scott Foster.
Oh, Lord, not Scott.
I thought he got sick. I thought Scott Foster got sick.
He did. He was
supposed to ref the Bucks-Celtics game last night.
And he's not COVID. And it's
not COVID related. So he will be in Phoenix for a game.
So he made sure to get this extra rest so he can. Oh, my. You petty.
I feel like Chris Paul should have him be one of the 3 people at his Hall of Fame speech. Like, you know how they bring up Chris Paul? He should be as what? Because I feel like he kind of goes with him.
For those who do not know, I think Chris Paul is winless when Scott Foster refers a playoff game for Chris Paul's playing.
Good reference. Oh damn, absence.
Exactly.
See? Well,
definitely fun Sunday tomorrow, man. Fun Sunday.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've enjoyed this entire playoffs. It's a little weight lifted off my shoulders now that the Grizzlies season is over with. So now I can just sit back and just enjoy these games like I would want to and not watch as a fan. That's just a fan of basketball, not as a fan of a specific team in the playoffs. So but real quickly on to something a little bit more serious, staying in the topic of basketball. I believe this came out, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, that a Title IX investigation has been launched to WNBA Hall of Famer, great player in Cynthia Cooper, from her time as a coach at UNC Wilmington as well as Texas Southern. I believe it's a third school too. I want to say it was USC or something like that. And this was featured in The Athletic, in which she was given some strong derogatory remarks towards her players during practices as well as during games, for that matter. So I sent the guys excerpts from the article that was posted on The Athletic just to kind of give some context to some stuff that she was saying. So we'll start with Daren and then just kind of work our way back around to myself. Just provide your take on this and on the whole situation.
So I guess like the main overview of it, right, is coach abuse, right? You're in a position here to lead young people, and there's a lot of trust given to you in those positions. And with these situations, it's always kind of, at first it's always a little tricky for me because, right, you're only getting this, you're reading at certain quotes, you read her quotes, and you're kind of like, but some of the things I saw, I mean, if you're saying those things, to me, that's kind of crossing a line, you know what I mean? And I feel like, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like kind of the older generation, like a few years before us, they were brought up that way. That's the way the way they talk. Oh, my coach used to blah, blah, blah. And then, not that it makes it right, but sometimes people are creatures of habit and they're built in certain ways, and their competitiveness gets the best of them. And when people get competitive, I'm sure you've done it in games. You say things to people that I probably don't usually say that. You're in, and sometimes I don't know Cynthia Cooper's story outside of just her being a great player and now that this part with the coach, but sometimes I just kind of wonder in whole that generation, the words that they use, because I see that now a lot with coaches, right? You're seeing that, like, they make these derogatory comments where maybe 40 years ago that wasn't, 30 years ago that wasn't a thing, 20 years ago it wasn't a thing. Now it's coming out all the time, and coaches have to be on high alert for what they're saying, because it's hurtful, man. You can't be saying that stuff to young people like that. You got people there on that quotes there, Trevor, that were saying that they were thinking about taking their life because of her. So somewhere that's not cool. And there's an imbalance there. She's like, yeah, I don't connect with everybody. Well, you cannot connect with people and maybe not drive them to that thought process is kind of my thing with it too.
Yeah, Daren, you literally took, for the most part, what I was going to say in terms of, like, maybe 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, this is not even a news article. This is like, whatever, people say this all the time, or coaches say it all the time, because, that's what used to get players riled up. That's what used to get them going. But now, it's 2022, and people don't respond to that well. I don't respond to that well. So all kudos to Cynthia Cooper for everything that she's done for the WNBA and for that league. But she's super out of pocket on this one. For those that have not read this article, for those that aren't sure of this story, like, take some time to read it. And she was extremely out of line. She's out of pocket. For me, like, I couldn't even read the whole entire article because I have a daughter, and I couldn't imagine, man or woman, talking to my daughter that way. Like, them almost fighting words, big dog. I'm sorry to say. So it sucks to see somebody that, for the most part, we all grew up watching Cynthia Cooper. She was really, really great at basketball. But to see this story and to see what she was saying to those players, she's out of line in some form of. I'm not sure if she's issued an apology, but she needs to, she needs to apologize to those players, to those schools that she was employed by, because it's wrong. You don't go about trying to get somebody to respond a certain way by saying what you said to them. You found other ways, you found other avenues to do that. And what she was saying to them and what she was doing to them is out of line. Daren, you just mentioned it. There are some players that, took that to heart and they thought about killing themselves. And so at the end of the day, she owes a bunch of people an apology, and she has to answer for what she did.
Yeah, great points, guys. I just think for me, like y'all hit the hammer on the head. Is disappointing when you see a great, go through something like this. That's definitely self-damaging. Daren, you made a good point about how we do need to hold, the older generation more accountable, because they did go through something different. Even probably when they were players, those players before them probably treated them the same way. So in a way, she's probably like just doing what she knows. So in a serious context, I do want, what maybe she goes to, get help or something. But I just want us to kind of be patient with her, because this is something, it kind of seems something mental in the aspect of, like I said, she's probably gone through this as a player herself, probably her whole career, even though she was an all-star in the WNBA, some of the things that, she was playing with, in the earlier times, like they were going through things, she heard things, she said things, and of course you can't say it to this generation now. And, I just want us to be a little patient with her. That's all, because it seems like it's instilled in her in a deep place. And yeah, just kind of be patient with her.
I got a question on that, because I'm gonna push back just a tad bit. Now, had this been a guy doing this, would you have been saying the same energy as far as to be patient with them? Because the masses would have been calling for his job, possibly some other type of BS or whatever. But would you, if this was a guy? So, prime example, if this was Derek Fisher doing this to the LA Sparks,
a guy, of course, because we've known about instances like this from guys for many, many, many years. We don't see too many instances from women coming, like this. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for Cynthia, for sure. Like, definitely not trying to do that. But, a woman saying all this crap about women it don't happen too many times, especially what I just read.
Yeah, I get it. I just want to ask the question just to make sure we was clear on it. But you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like, this is nothing if we were talking about this, 20 and 30 years ago. As a guy that's played sports and has played for coaches that has done this such a thing, maybe not to the extent of Cynthia Cooper, but something along those lines is close. Yeah, players are not going to respond. Most players are not going to respond well to that. I didn't respond well to that. Actually, I responded well to it in spite of them, because that was my motivation. I'm like, okay, I'm tired of this coach doing X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to push myself to do what I need to do to keep things moving. But to Skylar's point, I agree 100%. Like, there needs to be some form of apology from Cynthia Cooper to all of these schools, because again, these are actually, I won't necessarily say kids, but these are actually students that you have actively set in the homes of these parents to recruit, to get these women to come to your school and to play for you. And then for this to come out in the way that it has, and then for some of the players to even contemplate suicide, that's pretty damning in the eyes of the public, and it's pretty damning for Cynthia Cooper. So in the end, I just feel she has to answer for all that she's done. Will she be able to coach again? Probably not. Let's just hope that nobody makes a mistake like I think it was Grambling or what school made with Art Browse when they tried to hire him at from Baylor after all that transpired there. But yeah, she just needs to answer for everything, apologize to these schools. Again, it's taking nothing away from what she's done as a player and what she's done for the game of basketball, but times are changing and you have to be able to adjust with those times. So in a way, Coop, I'm kind of agreeing with you to saying that maybe it could be a mental thing, and maybe she needs help. Who knows? We don't know. We'll probably know more as the story progresses. But in the end, the best that she could do is at least issuing an apology to all of these schools, and at least not only just the schools, but to the parents of these players that you went out and actively recruited.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more to what you just said, Trevor. Like, because as a college basketball coach, you literally just said, like, you're coming into my home and I'm a parent, and you're telling me at some point that, I'm going to take care of your child. I'm going to do, what's in the best interest of them. And for you to say the stuff that she's saying, and that just makes me feel a certain type of way. And you said, be patient with her. If it happened once, I could probably, people make mistakes and I can overlook it. But you did it in 3 different schools. You did it 3 different times. And you did it over like a multi-year span. I'm willing to forgive somebody for that, but that takes a long time for me as a parent to get over. For those that in no form or fashion that associated with her may be able to, not pay attention to this article, or, may be able to not pay attention to it. But she did this multiple times, dude. I'm just like, that's a lot.
I agree with that. And then that's definitely a point. That's definitely a fair point.
Yep, agree. Right.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
100%. Trust me, I know. I know. I've sat in some of these. Not me myself as an athlete, but I had cousins who's been recruited by some colleges, so I've sat in on some of these and seen them do a complete 180. Once said person had got to campus, so trust me, I know 100%.
That's why I like the transfer rule now. That's why I like.
I love the transfer rule. I love it.
But coaches get mad. But coaches get mad when players get in transfer portal.
Yeah,
because you talking to me like that. I don't want nobody talking to me like that, bro.
Well, that's it, Trev. You got anything else, bro?
I have nothing else on this topic, man. But I do want to take the time to thank our host for today, Daren. Oh, make sure I get the point right. Daren, run your socials, run your promo. The floor is yours, my guy.
And guys, thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it. It was fun kind of interacting with you guys over, I don't know, for at least a couple of years here, kind of be able to be on with you guys here face to face, and especially do it in a series where it involves your hometown, Memphis, my hometown team, the Warriors. We can kind of talk about that. So I appreciate you guys having me on doing that. You can follow me at Fatboy FadeAway on Twitter. We have our YouTube channel there. We're trying to get up to 100 subscribers here. So we're about 85. So if you get a chance to subscribe to our channel, that'd be awesome. We usually put a podcast out usually every Sunday morning, kind of keep it local here with the sports here. But then we like to touch on, like you guys do, with other topics as well. Try to keep it lighthearted and stuff like that. So we've had Trevor on before. Maybe get a couple of you guys on there. We've had Savage on it a couple times. Like to get my resident Warriors fan here. It sounds like we have a few things we can debate going forward here as well, too.
I'm looking forward to that. Let's make that happen.
I'm all for debating sports.
One thing I'm gonna give you a think about. What I always told the fellas: the Warriors needed Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant did not need the Warriors. That's one thing we can debate if you think otherwise.
That is true. All right, I like that.
And I'm willing to be a guest on the show, but I promise you, Daren, if the Grizzlies trade for James Harden and they switch, I will find you.
Can we stop talking? Like, stop talking.
Start it here.
Okay, let's give Kleiman at least some kind of quarter credit, because he's my age, because he's 33, I'm 32, so he's my age. Yeah. I think he'll make I think he knows he'll make a better decision than that. So, but yeah, I'm coming with Skyler.
If it happens, we're finding you, sir.
We're coming to Cali and we're looking.
If I get blocked, I understand at that point. That
we're gonna get some wine and we're going straight to the casinos. I hope y'all got casinos.
Well, we got casinos out here too. We can make that happen as well. Yeah, that would be fun. A podcast with a little wine on it. That'd be good. That's the way.
That's dangerous. Sure. That's dangerous.
That's a dangerous podcast. I'm just gonna be honest.
I appreciate you for coming on, man. This was good.
Yeah.
This was fun.
But thank you once again, Daren, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Appreciate you, Ryan, checking us out. All right, man. Until next time, y'all bored now. Hey, get well soon, man, so we can talk about this season. Come on, man.
Get well soon, Cap. Yeah, we.
You probably bored at the crib not doing that with your sick ass.
How you check, bro?
How you check, bro? He not even on it, bro.
Man,
We gotta show Darren how we do it.
In the show.